First of all, I think I'm going to introduce myself, maybe.
Yes, please.
Yeah. My name is Daniel Mayor, and I'm the director of ESMACA. This is a school that we are running in Barcelona, in Spain. For this year will be the 10th year. So I've been doing macrobiotics for more than 20 years, but after some time of practicing, I decided to teach, because I thought that it was my purpose now in my life, is to teach everyone how to get better and how to feel happy. So I think it's the best way to do by having this school. And we have we are running a regular school here in Barcelona with more than 60 people per year, but we also teach online in Spanish, and we have more than 600 people a year doing workshops and the training, the regular training in macrobiotics. And in all this time that I've been practicing macrobiotics, I found some lacks, especially in terms of sexuality, especially being a gay person. When I was reading Oshawa books, and also when I was attending Michio Kushi's classes, the idea of homosexuality or finding diversity in sexual preferences or identity was a little bit confusing. Especially, I think, you know, I understand that Oshawa and Kushi lived in former years, in the past, especially Oshawa. So socially, maybe it was not a really accepted thing that a person could have desires for a person of the same sex. But now these times are changing, and hopefully, and I think we need to readapt all the theories about sexuality that Oshawa and Kushi did. So I think this is one of the things that I can teach, and I can tell you guys, and in my own experience. Because when we talk about sexuality, we can talk about many things. We can talk about identity, so we can find a person who doesn't feel that his body is identifying the sex that this person is experimenting. So maybe a woman can feel that that his sexuality in this identity is like a man, for example, or the opposite. We can talk about sexuality in terms of orientation. I can feel attracted for a person of the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever. I can. It doesn't matter how it feels like that. And we also, I think, if we talk in terms of yin and yang again, so I think the traditional idea of sexuality, like man and woman, this idea, and the man is having sex with a woman, I think it's like, again, it's not the complete picture, because we have these two opposites. You know, it's like yin and yang again. It's like heat and cold, for example. It's like up and down. But we know, and I think many of the people, I don't know if you guys are introduced into macrobiotics deeply, but we know that yin and yang are not just two different poles. You know, there's like a very big picture and very big set of intermediate states between this yin and yang. So in the same way, if we talk about sexuality, we can talk about that. So we can find this regular, we can talk about a regular person who is finding this sexual attraction for the opposite sex. But in terms of yin and yang, we can find different kind of attractions or different kinds of identities. So in my perspective, these things like sexual identity or sexual orientation are not really attached to the thing that we're to the main point is that is called sexual energy. And let me put an example. We know we have sexual energy. Sexual energy is very important for us because not only for just for the attraction and having sex or whatever, it's also about being creative. It's also about having different kinds of emotions and especially managing our emotions. And the sexual energy is really doing a very deep impact in our body. If we learn about traditional Oriental philosophy, the sexual energy is creating all the different kinds of energies or states of the energy, like yin and yang, like 5 transformations. But the roots are in the sexual energy. And this energy has these 2 poles, this masculine, we can talk about masculine energy that is a little bit more yang, and this feminine energy that is a little bit more yin. And if we are learning about yin and yang, this masculine and feminine is in my body, is in you and in your body, guys, and in a different sorry, it's been a long time since I haven't spoken in English, so let me think again. We have different proportions of yin and yang. We have different proportions in masculine and feminine energy. So in that point, we have also, there is another concept that is very important that if you guys have studied macrobiotics, we know very well, that is constitution and condition. Constitution is the things that we inherit from our parents, the things that are created when we were born. And in this condition, we also have a different proportion of this sexual energy. And it doesn't matter if I am a boy or a girl, or I'm gay or straight or trans or whatever. We have always a proportion about masculine and feminine energy. The masculine energy is about all the conditions that we know that we want to do when we do things in our life, when we want to be very directed, when we when we need to plan things, when we need to be very focused, we need to take this masculine energy, and we need this energy to get to be very big into us. On the opposite way, we have this feminine energy. We can call it feminine. That is not so directed, it's not so straight, it's not so at the point. It's more an energy of being calm, of getting together, of being of trying to get the whole point of view of the things, for example. And when we were born, we had this proportion of feminine and masculine energy, and we can also change this energy with our condition. Condition is the constitution that we have, but also we can change this constitution by our foods and also our state, our way of life, exercise, all the things that we do every day. Okay, so I think it's important, especially because we are living in a society that I think it's a little bit very masculine in this way again, because it's like labeling everybody. You are a man and you're supposed to be like this, and you need to act like this because you're a man, and also you're a lady and you need to act like this, and you need to be very feminine in this way or whatever. And it's not real, you know. We know people. Maybe we need maybe we find a girl that he likes to play football, or she likes sports a lot, and it doesn't have to be a lesbian or whatever. I think in English it was called like a tomboy, isn't that? Yeah, okay. So
Right, that's right.
yeah. So and it doesn't have to be like that, you know. It's only that her sexual energy is more masculine in this way. Maybe she like boys, for example, and she doesn't have to have any problem in her sexuality. It's only about her energy that is creating this thing. On the opposite side, a man who, for example, cries a lot, or is very sensitive, for example, with the people who is on near him, or well, all the things that we need, that we think that a woman has to have in and not a man, then we can call it like gay or whatever. But maybe this guy is not like that, you know. It's just this feminine energy that is being a little bit more in proportion than the masculine energy, and that's the Constitution. And we need to take care about our Constitution, and also because in this way, this Constitution also creates our essence. In older times, you know, especially what I found, especially macrobiotics, when we found that a couple, for example, a man and a woman that wanted to have children, and they had problems about fertility or whatever, and simply because they don't match each other or whatever. I remember a lot that the solution was for the man, you know, this man has to cut the hair, he has to eat like a man, and the woman is like the opposite. And it's not like that, you know. When we have a couple, or when we get in couple, we always find the opposite side of our energy. That's very usual. And the thing is that if we find that, it's not necessary to change the way I eat, the way I have my way of life. We need to take care about that, because that's not true. You know, I found many couples and they have babies, and the woman has a very masculine energy and the man has a more feminine energy, and they have children and they haven't any kind of problem. So I think it's not like that, you know. I think the problem, especially when getting together, when two people get together and they are in a couple, what they need to do is to create this balance about this energy. And this balance also is not like just in one way. For example, maybe the woman in the couple, if we are talking about a straight couple, for example, maybe the woman in the couple, when taking care about the children, she's more feminine and she has more this feminine energy. But when she's at work, she wants to take more this masculine energy. And this kind of balances creates the energy, the sexual energy, and also this sexual match between two people who is getting in couple. So the point is, okay, so what do we need to do with our sexual energy, or how can we balance our energy, or how can we know that we are in a balance or we are in imbalance with our sexual energy? It's not about if I'm a man that I want to be, or I act like a woman. I think the only way we know that we are in balance is pretty simple. It's like the 7 conditions of health that Oshawa said. Okay, if we found that, you know, the 7 conditions are like good sleep, good appetite, good memory, being active, and react properly, and all this stuff, you know. If we find like that, we are completely okay, no matter what our sexual energy is getting into ourselves. And then also, if we want to change this energy because we are in life, and maybe we need to change it, or we want to change it because we want to change our condition, then we can do it. Sometimes maybe we need to be more at the point, more with an objective, you know, with my goal is the most important thing. So we need a more masculine energy. So we need to get focused on that, no matter if I'm a boy or I'm a girl or whatever. Okay, we need to eat like that. We need to take care like that. Taking care also that we don't get in an imbalance. And how can we do it? In my point of view, I think Macrobiotics has the perfect way of doing it by taking a more in the way, if we need to take more of this masculine energy, we need to take more about young foods, especially, for example, more grains than not more grains than vegetables, but more grains than the regular thing that we usually have. Especially deep fried foods are very interesting. Depending on the person, if the person is more young, for example, it's not a good idea, but if the person is more young, some animal products are interesting, like fish, for example, and sometimes not only white fish, also like things like tuna or salmon helps to get more into this masculine and young energy. And also all the traditional cooking styles that creates more dryness, you know, like for example nishime is good for that, and also steam foods, you know, are also interesting. On the opposite side, if we want to get more this feminine energy, because we want to get more in touch with people, we want to get everyone together, like being a mother, you know, it's like being a mother, this in the same way. We need to change our diet, change our lifestyle to get a more feminine way of life, or more feminine energy. In that way, I think round vegetables are very important, not so much grains. I think vegetables are really more important, especially also tofu and tempeh are very interesting for that, especially tempeh, especially if a man wants to get more into feminine energy. Tempeh is a very good way of having all the energy of this feminine energy. And also lots of vegetables also, you know, fresh foods, lots of fresh foods, and the cooking styles, especially long cook styles, you know, with very low flame and for a long time, cooking in low flame. And I think that's the good way of getting this balance together. And then, apart from that, there are many other things that I can talk about this, but I don't want to talk a lot more about, and I want to hear some questions of you guys. But before that, and also in my experience with gay, lesbian, and transsexual people, I found I've found many kinds of people with these problems about sexuality. Not many like physical problems. Many of them, you know, have more social problems because they didn't feel okay in this energy that or this orientation or this identity that they have, but also because the society expected another thing about them. But I think one of the most interesting things to talk about is like transsexual people, especially because I don't know if in any other countries, but in Spain, if you are a transsexual person and you want to get an ID with the gender of the opposite gender, you need to take into a hormone treatment. I don't know in your country if that's and this is changing now, but what I found is that many of these transsexual people that are taking this hormone therapy, in some way, sometimes they are not like really, they don't have any follow-up with the doctors. So they're taking these pills and they don't know even how much pills do they have to take. So sometimes what I feel is that this excess of hormones are taking these people in a very easy imbalance of the energy. Just because, you know, they think, for example, if I'm a man and I feel that my body needs to be a woman, I take these pills and I feel I'm feeling in this feminine energy. But the point is that this is taking a very deep change in my body, and also it is taking a very deep change in my sexual energy. And many of these guys are men and women that are transsexual. They are having many problems with these hormones. So in my experience, what I did with them, especially with women, with transsexual men, you know, women who are transitioning into a man, you know, especially they need to take out all the meat and especially all the animal foods, because, you know, these hormones are changing completely this energy, and animal foods are doing a very deep change in combination with the hormones. And many of these men are really aggressive. They are taking like this masculine energy in a very high level and sometimes in a very imbalanced level. So animal foods for transsexual men are not really good. No? They would need to be more vegetarian, more vegan in this way. It's not bad to have a more young foods in this way of they are eating. Not so much into very young, for example, very young grains like buckwheat or things like that. And they need to also to take care about the yin side of the diet, you know. Also having salads, for example, having raw food is very nice for them, because it's the way of interacting with this hormone therapy. And so in the opposite way, women, transsexual women, men who are not identifying themselves as men and are transitioning into women. What I find is that they like a lot sugar and sweets and many of these things. And when they have this hormone therapy, they take they feel like really you know, this sensitivity that they have is very, very high, completely imbalanced. You know, they are really distracted. You know, it's like when a butterfly is flying, they can stare for a long time looking at the fly, and that's because this energy is getting very high in a very high way into the yin side. So for a transsexual woman, it's very important not to have any sugar, not to have any sweets. Fruit is really important, not a very imbalanced fruit, like for example tropical fruits or things like that, but having like apples, pears, you know, the traditional things that we are having in macrobiotics. These are really nice things. And also sometimes, you know, all these things that we have talked about in this feminine way of eating, like having more stews, for example, or more round vegetables, sweet vegetables, things like that, helps a lot about this transsexual women. So that's my point, and the main point that I wanted to talk about is that all of us are sexual persons, you know, or sexual human beings, and we have these proportions in our sexual energy. We need to respect it, and we need to put this energy, the sexual energy, in the service of the others, no matter if it's more masculine or if it's more feminine or whatever. And this energy doesn't have to be, it's not really related with our orientation, our identity, or whatever. We need to take all these things into account so we can feel a little bit more better, and also to reject all the traditional ways of thinking about this diversity. So this was all the things I wanted to talk about. So if you guys have questions or comments or some things that you want to talk about, I can answer, I can comment, whatever you guys want.
So I see Filipa has a question.
Yes, hello everyone. Hi Danny, thank you so much. I really liked it. So I have two questions in one, more or less. So the thing is, the first question is, do you think that sometimes regarding some themes, we cannot really talk about them in a yin-yang approach? For instance, sex, the act of sexuality, if we see it as a sacred act, where we kind of make the connection with our body, with the other person, and the essence of nature, can we really say and divide that act as a yin and yang? You see, same as creativity. So, for instance, when painters and writers, when they create their pieces of art, they say that is something beyond them. So it's not really, we cannot say like, or for me, I think it's when we talk about yin and yang, it should be more about on the way people do it, but not in the act itself, on the sexuality. So I would like to ask you that. So if you think that sometimes yin and yang, it's not, doesn't explain everything, like these more abstract.
Well, I don't, but no, please finish, please.
And the second one is, yeah, I really agree with you. I think maybe in the past where men and women were having very defined lives. Women needed to take care of the children, men were going to war, so things were very separated. But in these days, things are not like that. So my question is, do you think we should start teaching yin and yang using different words? Because imagine if I say yin is a more feminine, wherever I want it or not, in my mind, I will always stick it to women. You know, so maybe we should change our words in order to change the concepts we have. And just a final one is that for me, the beautiful of yin and yang is that it's not a judgmental thing, right? So if I say I'm acting in a more yin way, I'm not saying I should be more active, or it's a non-judgmental language. So, and I sometimes I feel that how you were saying that if you say to a man that he is being in, that is a negative. So I'm sorry, I know the questions were very abstract, but if you can comment on that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. The first one, I think yin and yang, it has, you know, I don't know if you guys have read this book of Michio Kushi about pregnancy. I think I didn't remember the title, about pregnancy. And I think the first part, he's talking about how yin and yang interact in the man and the woman to create the baby. And I think in the sex, when we are having sex, it doesn't matter, you know, who is taking part into that. Yin and yang is, I think it's are the two opposites that are getting together and creating the oneness, you know, and it's necessary. But the point is that we always have talked about, and also Michio in this book talked about, that the woman has the yin side and the man has the yang side. And I think that's not true, you know. Yin and yang in sexual energy is, it doesn't matter who is having this. Even in the same couple, for example, in the same couple during all the time, you know, maybe sometimes one person is having more this yin energy and the other person has this yang energy. And that's also what especially when I remember when I was learning about when a baby was born, if it's a boy, it's because the woman was more young when they had sex, and if it's a man, it's because I didn't remember. I remember that Michio said that it depends if the woman was in a more yin or yang way, you know, the child, you know, was a boy or a girl. And that thing, I think that's true, you know. Our condition is changing completely. And when we interact in a couple, you know, many of the times, one person is having most this feminine or yin or whatever, how you call it, and the other person is having more this yang or masculine energy. And that's the point when they get together and they create the oneness. I think it's necessary. It's necessary. And even, for example, Filipa, you were there. Even when
I'm sorry, let me just, so for instance, now when you said the yin to be more feminine and the yang to be more masculine, for me, I think that should change. Yeah, well, you know? So it's like the yin, it's the more passive, and the yang is the more active. Because there are women, we don't even have to talk about sexuality. I know I work with some women that at work, they are so young. You see, it's generalized. It's not just in sexuality, it's how we do the thing.
Yeah. I understand you. Yeah. I think the point in this talk or in this conversation is, I don't mind calling it masculine or feminine, because I don't feel it more masculine or more feminine. I think the problem is that when you identify yourself as a more masculine or feminine person, that's the point. If you wanted to call it yin or yang, doesn't matter. If you wanted to call it masculine or feminine, if you wanted to call it strong or weak or whatever, it doesn't mind, you know. The point is that how you feel in terms of energy in different ways of your life, not only in sexuality, but also in different ways of your life. And you can call it whatever, you know. If you feel yourself when you feel more, when you hear like the word feminine, you need to be like that, well, so call it yin. You can call it yin, you can whatever, you know. It's what it's happening, especially in the LGBTQI plus whatever community, is that many of the people that we belong to this community, and sometimes, you know, for us, you know, these words are not really having any kind of sense in a way that we are getting attached into that. You understand? For example, in Spanish, we have to, when we speak in Spanish, maybe I think also in Portuguese, we have two genders. We can call it, we can speak to a person in feminine or in masculine. And we are, when I find my gay guys, for example, my guy, I can talk to them in feminine or in masculine. I don't mind, you know, because we don't think like other people, like gender is creating the energy. So I think it's a thing about the label, about the name. If you want to change it, it's okay. If you don't want to change it, just don't believe that you are getting into this energy. That's my point.
Thank you.
Alice, did you want to ask?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank you for this lecture. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm with you. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I come from the same place as you. So thank you very much. This is something that needs to be talked about in the macrobiotic community. But I have a question about the transsexual and the hormone therapy. Essentially, you're saying you have to make balance with the hormones. So if you're transitioning from, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm going to use the wrong terms, but if you're a man and you're going to become a woman, then you're going to be taking yin hormones. So you want to make balance with the hormones. So if you're transitioning, is that what? So you're going
Yeah.
And vice versa, the other way, because you're going to be taking testosterone, so you want to have a more relaxed diet to balance that. Okay. Okay, that's what I thought. I was getting confused with the genders and so on. Then the next thing, there seems to be here, at least I'm in Canada, more and more younger children are transitioning, it seems, and they're being given these hormones, which are very, and I just want to know your views on that, because I just find it horrifying that it's happening like when they're teenagers and they're having surgeries and then they're having hormones anyway, if you could give your views on that.
At the last point, you know, I think it has to be a decision of the person. You know, it's like when you have surgery in your face because you want to feel younger. Mm-hmm. It's your decision, but you know that it has its drawbacks. So, but especially that's a good point for you, especially when this person is very young. I think it doesn't have to be necessary. The point is that this society that we are living in, you know, creates these patterns of, okay, you want to be a lady and you are a man, okay, just take these pills so you will feel like a lady. And that's a point that we need to change, because maybe some person, even if they don't look, if this person doesn't look like a boy or a girl, and he wants to or pretends to be a boy or a girl, it doesn't have to be like, okay, I need to wear skirts, I grow my hair long or whatever. we need to change also these patterns, because and that's the point, these transsexual people are taking the hormones because they want to feel like the other people. It's like when, especially for example, gay people, when we got in couples and we also live like a very straight lifestyle. Sometimes many of these gay people didn't like to be like that, and they want to behave differently. But this, I in some way, this society is like imposing us a way of being because we want to be like straight people. You know, that's the point. So I think hormone therapy, it should be part of a thing that a person, it's like an option that this person could have, but it doesn't have to be really a very important thing to do to be like transsexual. In fact, you know, I don't know in English, but in Spanish, it's a difference between transgender and transsexual. The difference is that you are transsexual when you have your surgery and your genitals are removed or changed. And I think that this concept also has to change a lot. And the point with macrobiotics also is that macrobiotics could help for that, and could help a transsexual person or a gay person or a lesbian person to feel in a more comfortable way this sexual energy.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. So, but I guess we'll deal with it as the cases arise. I haven't had a big large amount of transgender people asking for advice, but yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. In fact, you know, things are changing a lot, even for us, for example, for lesbian, gays, or transsexual, you know, because we are getting into this normality, this regularity, there are many people who is taking into other patterns. You know, I don't know if you guys know the non-binary people, they don't feel even like a boy or a man or a woman. They don't know their gender. So yeah, yin and yang again in different kinds of levels. So yeah, we will see in the next years what's going on. But my point also, you know, one of the most terrible talks that I was attending with Michio Kushi, I love him, and I'm have a lot of respect about him. But I remember one of his talks when he talked about that you could be, that you want to be gay, okay, but if you don't want to be gay, you can do it by doing macrobiotics, and that's not true. And this is a thing that we need to change, because if a person thinks that changing their diets could change their identity or their orientation, it's not a good idea to talk about that, because it's not really true. You know.
Bill? Bill Prather? I'll just ask while Bill is waking up.
No.
Ayane, here he is. Okay.
I just
Hi,
wanted
Bill.
to comment. I wanted to thank you for your presentation. And there's some interesting things that you said at first, that it's not all black and white. We can have subtle variations within people. And for myself, a lot of people in my culture, it's changing gratefully, but historically it was mostly the woman that did most of the cooking in the home. And there are a lot of parts of me that can be toward a feminine side, a nurturing kind of a part. And it's interesting that you can feed some of these parts by adjusting your diet a little bit. And if I want to use more of the feminine side of me to eat more of the foods that will promote that. Anyway, it's interesting to consider. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the best cooks are the one who take this feminine energy and they put it into service to their foods. And well, in some way, that was the reason that Oshawa, in his way of thinking, wanted the women in the kitchen and the men in the classes, But it was a mistake, because many men, for me, for example, I love cooking, and I'm not a like a chef, My food is not like wow, and with all these things very subtle and these things, no. But when you eat my food, and that's what my students say, it's like food that their mother could have cooked. So for me, it's like compliment for me, because I put all my feminine energy, and that's not the reason because I'm gay and I have more feminine energy. I have more masculine energy in some other points of my life. So, but in cooking, for example, I could express in my feminine energy. And also we can work with that. That's a very good point of also to talk about in macrobiotics, especially at the schools, is to work on the feminine energy to create a good quality of foods, especially about the earth, the soil energy, because that's the energy of the mother, and also to teach other people how to cook with love. How to cook with a good way of chi, and also with this sexual feminine energy, yin energy, Filipa.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, but did you understand what I was saying? It's every time we use the feminine, it's almost as it doesn't have to be like that. For instance, I'm from Portugal, and one of our biggest figures in one of the awards we had was a woman. She was a baker, and she was so young, and she won a award, and she was a woman. So maybe because all of these yin yang and Oshawa, he came from Japan, the words we use, they culturize us. They put us in places. So obviously it's how you're saying, they wanted the women to take care of the children. It was a survival situation, and the men to go and hunt and fight and other things. But times change. So I think we really need to change the way we talk, the way we communicate, and especially the way we teach, because if we continue teaching, saying the yin is the feminine and the yang is masculine, I think it's not a good approach, because, for instance, a couple have the children, the man is very nurturing. You see, that is, will we say that's a feminine characteristic in the man? I wouldn't say that. You know what I mean?
Why not? When I speak to myself,
why is it be feminine? Is that nurturing? You know what I mean? Why do women have to nurture? Why cannot men nurture too? That's the point.
That's the way. For example, when I for example, with this example, I have many friends, gay couples, and they have children, and both of them, or maybe one of them, or maybe none of them, have this nurturing energy, and it's not a problem, with the baby. And I think what we need to surpass, it's about this idea of a man talking about his feminine energy, or a woman talking about their masculine energy. For example, I found many women, that we need, especially, it's not a bad thing, but many women that wanted to talk about not feminism, but in some way that the feminine energy, or we need to take out the masculine or the machoism or whatever. Feminine and masculine, yin and yang, has to be together, and we can talk about masculine. In some way, it's not a problem for me to talk about my masculine or my feminine energy. And I think it doesn't have to be a problem, especially for young people, to talk about their masculine or feminine energy. I think it's not a problem about the words, I think it's a problem about our brain, we need to think differently.
But that's the thing, our brain, he acts through words. That's why I'm putting so much emphasis in the words.
Yeah, in my school, for example, when we teach about yin and yang, and when we teach, at some point in macrobiotics, we always talk food, especially, I don't know in your schools, but what I learned also in Kushi Institute was foods for men and food for men and foods for women. For me, this has changed a lot. I talk foods for masculine energy, foods for feminine energy. And when I explain that, I explain it in a very different way. If you want this masculine energy, you will feel like that. You will feel like very straight, very powerful, more in my objective, in my point, And when I want my more feminine energy, I do it in this way. I don't think there is a food for a man and a food for a woman. I don't think it at all.
Can I just add something?
Sure.
Well, if we're talking about energy, and if energy comes from nature, we cannot even say that energy is feminine or negative, because energy is what? Is moving faster, is moving slower, is more dense, is less dense, you see?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, I understand you. Yeah, but in our we live in a world of concepts and in a world of labels.
Exactly. That's why you need to change them.
yeah. Well, but I think that we need to change the meaning of the labels, not the label itself.
Yeah. I think more it's accepting the different sides rather than describing them differently.
And things are changing. I don't think I cannot say that the way people were teaching in the past it was wrong. I will never say this, because it was a different time, and at that time it was like that, and it's okay. We always have to put things into the context. So, but the context has changed. So
exactly. When they talked about that, and what I found, sometimes, especially in couples that they wanted to have babies, and that terrible idea of saying that the man has to eat like that and the woman has to eat like that, I've seen it many times and it didn't work at all. So yeah, that was a very interesting point to change. Not the other teachings. The teachings are okay, but the meaning of the teachings has to change.
Well, Danielle, we thank you so much. It's wonderful to talk about these topics, and I'm so grateful for your teaching and for opening up the subject. I see a lot of conversation, a lot of thinking going on. I'm getting lots of messages here. So I really appreciate your bringing us this information.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much.